Well, I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting in a staff meeting and the principal will suddenly break into their version of, "It's all about me and my experiences and what I can teach you." The truth is, there's a lot of great things I've learned and are appropriate, but other times I'm bored to death and just can't wait for it to be over. Recently, Harvard Business Review actually wrote an article about organizational culture and this very thing. Authenticity is the new buzzword among leaders today. We're told to bring ourselves to the workplace, engage in frank conversations, and tell personal stories as a way of gaining our colleagues' trust and improving group performance. Unfortunately, not everybody's good at it. For example, oblivious leaders don't have a realistic view of themselves and thus reveal information and opinions in a manner that appears clueless or just flat out completely phony. On the other hand, you have bumblers. They have a better understanding of who they are, but not of how they come across to others. They don't read colleagues' social cues, including body language and facial expressions. They make ill-timed and inappropriate disclosures. Open books, although, they can talk endlessly about themselves, about others, about everything. They're just flat out too comfortable. Then you have, inscrutable leaders. They're at the other end of the spectrum. They have difficulty sharing anything about themselves in the workplace, so they frequently come off as remote or inaccessible, and they don't create any real relationships. However, the article proposes a 5-step path to kind of help you get there. So they're just telling you, be yourself, but carefully. The first step is to build a foundation of self-knowledge. You can learn about yourself in many ways, but the best approach is to get some feedback from other people. What do they see that you might have to offer your colleagues or share as a leader? Consider the relevance to the task, though. Skillful self-disclosures choose the substance, process, and timing of revelations to further the task at hand, not to just promote themselves. Make sure you keep revelations genuine. This should be a no-brainer, but we're amazed at how often we hear about managers who just flat out exaggerate. And at the other hand, you have to understand the organizational and cultural context. You got to take it, is it the right time? Is it the right place? And finally, delay or avoid personal disclosures. Intimate stories strengthen relationships, but they don't establish them. There is such a thing as sharing too much information. At the end of the day, I've had some really fantastic principals that kind of have certain themes in common when they start sharing, and it kind of works like this. The first is it real? The second thing that I kind of think about a lot, is it relatable? Is it relevant, so to speak? Just like our research tells us, what the story they're telling us, does it apply to what they're telling us? I don't like it when principals, first of all, tell me the name of a former school because I feel like I'm being compared. And especially then I think I'm nothing like them and we're nothing like them and here you're telling us these things. The story has to be extremely relevant as well. That's extremely important to me. Is it for the task at hand? Is it going to make us better? Is it meant to condemn us or make us feel bad and tell us how someone else did it better in a different way? We can only operate with what we have, so it doesn't really help me when a principal stands there and tells me about a school in an ultra-wealthy neighborhood that had all kinds of community support and parental involvement, because that's not where I work, and clearly that's not a translatable situation. So my best principals also are more than willing to take it to the good, the bad, and the ugly. They're willing to relate to me and tell me that sometimes things were hard for them. They didn't just make it to a principal because they did everything right. Sometimes they've had stumbling blocks, and sharing how they overcame them certainly has helped me a lot. So there's a lot to be said for some principals, and there's still a lot to be learned before I figure out what's the best way to approach storytelling.